We have two more seats over here in front. One more seat over here. Dito na po kayo sa unahan para malapit sa biyaya.
Circa Emergency Response Protocol. Emergency response in the event of an earthquake. Drop, cover, and hold procedure. Circa HQ evacuation areas and routes. During the earthquake, security will activate the alarm. Remember, drop, duck, cover, and hold. After the earthquake, walk calmly to the evacuation areas, with road finding an open area or the open parking area. Follow the evacuation routes from your location and proceed safely outside. Please note Corps marshals will guide individuals along the designated evacuation routes and ensure that everyone gathers at the identified evacuation areas. Circa Residence Hotel evacuation area and routes. During the earthquake, security will activate the alarm. Drop, duck, cover, and hold. After the earthquake, walk home to the designated evacuation area, the side open parking areas. Follow the evacuation route to your location and proceed safely outside. Head count, search, and rescue. The head marshal will facilitate the head count of the evacuation area. Floor marshals will report per floor. If someone is unaccounted for, the safety team will begin search and rescue. Minor injuries will be taken to UPLB health service or nearby hospitals using Circa vehicles. Facility assessment is returned. The safety committee will inspect the building for damage. If no issues are found, the head marshal will declare it safe for re-entry. If structural problems are inspected, the crisis management team will designate an alternate facility for business continuity. Emergency response in case of fire. In case of fire, the security team or safety committee will activate the alarms. An announcement will be made through the PADX system to guide evacuation. The head marshal will notify the University Police Force and open fire stations. Small fire extinguishing. Fire extinguishers are located inside the building. If the fire is beyond control, do not attempt to extinguish and evacuate.
Okay, smile muna sa camera. Agaling. Okay, left side. Okay, right side.
Fire. Squeeze the handle. Squeeze side to side. Please note, fire extinguishers are located inside the building.
Okay, center. Nasa Facebook. Okay. Sure. Okay, hello, good afternoon everybody. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. I am Sunny from Circa. Welcome to another session of our Agriculture and Development Seminar Series or ADSS. So our seminar is in line with the World Food Day celebration today, October 16. And this morning, we actually held our Solve webinar featuring two speakers from Indonesia and the US who shared with us their studies and local initiatives relating to food and culture. So one was on conserving rice varieties in the Philippines and another on indigenous foodways and cultural revival in Indonesia. So if you're interested on those topics, please feel free to check our Circa Facebook page for the recording. Now, this afternoon, we are very excited to hear from a young Filipino biodiversity documentarist to tell us more about his initiatives in archiving the food biodiversity of the Philippines. So thank you all for joining us despite the shift to online classes. We're very glad that a lot of you still showed up. In fact, we changed the venue because a lot of you signed up for on-site attendance. Mukhang maraming fans dito sa LB si Sherwin. Meron na nga siyang fan art na na-receive kanina lang. So this seminar is also being streamed on Circa's Facebook page and via Zoom as well. So please kindly share the FB Live with your colleagues, your friends, your classmates who may be interested to listen to our resource speakers. And right now, there are almost 100 here on site, but there are more. I think almost 200 people joining us online from across the Philippines and other countries in Southeast Asia and beyond. So wag na po nating patagalin. Allow me to briefly introduce our resource speaker. Mr. John Sherwin Felix is a 29-year-old food heritage and biodiversity documentarist and citizen scientist based in Metro Manila, Philippines. He is the founder of Localpedia, a project dedicated to documenting Philippine food culture. And through extensive fieldwork across the country, he has documented hundreds of edible species of flora, fauna, and fungi. Outside of Localpedia, John is also an editor and trustee of the Philippine Native Plants Conservation Society, a nonprofit organization founded by the late Leonardo Co., the country's foremost ethnobotanist. So ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome our ADSS speaker, Mr. John Sherwin Felix.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. Thank you for being with us this afternoon despite of the changes with the venue and I think parang wala ata kayong pasok ngayon and I'm quite surprised na medyo marami yung nag-attend. Napilitan lang kayo, no? Siguro requirement. Anyway, chill lang tayo because kabataan, bata din naman ako, so huwag tayo masyadong seryoso. So anyway, my topic is from roots to recipes, documentation and archiving Philippine food biodiversity and heritage. Sino who are among you na familiar with Localpedia? Taas ang kamay. O lahat din, wow. Thank you. So a little introduction. I'm 29 years old, but the project started 5 years ago. Lagi nilang tanong when Localpedia started. I usually answer na way back my childhood because my mother an excellent cook. My father, pati yung mga ate ko, they love cooking. Ako lang hindi mahilig magluto, but I love eating. So they showered their love through food. And fast forward to college, I'm studying communication, full-time. Tibak din ako nung college, so that's why I am exposed with different kind of social issues. And fast forward to pandemic. So doon ko nakita na maraming traditional industries na nahirapan during the pandemic. At the same time, I started cooking, so I started exploring kung ano yung mga ingredients, and I realized that we have so many underutilized ingredients and other unknown, actually obscure food, even in our hometown. So from there, that's my mom. I love her so much. Thank you, Mama. Then, actually, before Localpedia, I'm doing it full-time now, but I'm a former public relations manager. Then I resigned for this project because dun ko nakita na, in a way, may impact naman siya. Naniniwala naman ako. And then in 2021, that's the culmination of all of my experiences. Then Localpedia was born. So it's just a independent project by a broke, underfunded, independent researcher to 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 document and to archive our biocultural assets na connection with food. Because noong nagsisimula ako, when I'm starting researching about our food, we really have, pambihira lang tayong may references. Hirap na hirap ako. But lucky now, meron na kayong napakarami. If meron man, siguro nasa library, or I don't know kung nasaan sila. Basta nahirapan ako before. But it's not just a archive or a documentation of the edible species, but also the associated culture na konektado sa mga ito. I started documenting in San Jose Occidental, Mindoro. These are my first species, kalumpit, bagbagkong, kamansi. Who are familiar with kalumpit? Taas ng kamay. Patay tayo, konti lang. So kalumpit is a native fruit. If you're familiar with kalumpit, Bulacan, hindi po dahil sa longganisa, but ito po yung prutas nito, is a native fruit and very delicious. My mom, nangunguha siya sa school, ano kasi siya, school clerk. So, namumulot siya ng kalumpit and she turned it into a jam. It's a very delicious, one of underutilized but very delicious native fruit. And then we have bagbagkong, that's a vegetable. And then, yung pod niya, magiging fruit to, pwede rin kainin. And then kamansi. So I started writing down, talking to farmers, talking to vendors, and they're so surprised. You're so young, why are you so interested with these fruits? Kasi maybe most of the time, paano masabi? Wala naman pumapansin sa kanila before, lalo ng mga bata. So, lahat ng kwento nila sinusulat ko. I asked a lot of people. My mom, my neighbors, the farmers, etc. So, that's when I realized that documenting food is not just writing down the plants and the animals, but also listening to the locals. Kaya nga Localpedia, kasi talaga I want to put the people, their knowledge, their lived experience at the center of the project. And maybe in this project, siguro mga 10,000 na tao na. Kasi because, for example, one plant, I interview more than 10 people just to write this description na napakalit lang that you see online. So then, from a humble, independent project, it went national, and I'm pretty sure with all this recognition from media, for NGOs, for academe, it's actually a monumental project despite it's an independent project. So that's why I love the word citizen scientist, because I'm not actually a agriculture or anthropologist. I'm not a biologist, etc. I'm just a citizen, a youngster who really love our culture. Natutunan kong mahalin ang ating kultura. And I think that's enough. If you're passionate with making a change, you can bring big impact. And one of the example lang that how we can make impact, or before, yung Asintibuok is a artisanal salt. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with this salt. So it's produced in Albuquerque, Bohol. So before, bago ko siya sinulat, alam nyo, 300 pesos lang siya. And then they are having a hard time selling this kind of salt. For example, they will make a few dozens, and mahihirapan sila to sell it in just 1 year. But now, Asintibuok is 800 pesos. Or I think 650. But I think hindi naman siya na-gentrify. Kasi actually, before 350 pesos, wala daw silang kita. They don't have any profit from that. So na-adjust lang. Kasi nakita nyo naman kung gaano kahirap. And from there, I realized the power of storytelling. The power of bringing these stories outside. And I hope na yun nga, kada ingredient makilala ng Pilipino. So from there, Localpedia has documented hundreds of Philippine ingredients and food items, many of which are endangered and rarely recorded. So I own a lot of 100 culinary books, and I'm telling you, madami pang hindi natin nasulat, marami pang hindi nadidiscuss. So medyo minsan nga pumipintig-pintig na yung ulo ko kasi parang pagod na nga ako eh. Pero tuloy lang. So Going around the Philippines from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, I learned some few things. Actually, ito lang yung presentation ko, just 4 points, and I will explain it. So number one that I learned through documentation that Philippine food is extremely diverse. It's not true they're lying when they say Philippine food is bland or one note or limited. It's either just they're lying or they're just pure, ignorant. I don't know. But marami yan in threads or in Twitter, they really love to hate Filipino food. But I do believe we have one of the most diverse food because we have, ba't nawala yung isang slide? Hala. Nawala. By the way, may slide dyan. Anyway, that one slide is just the very cliche opening that the Philippines is one of the mega diverse countries in the world. So kahit nawala siya, alam nyo na yon. But because we are one of the mega diverse, because we have different kind of ecosystems, we have different kind of biomes. So we have wetlands, we have different kinds of forests, mangrove forest, karst forest. Alam niyo na, pretty sure. Sige nga, magkuquiz ako. May alam ka bang type of forest? Anong course mo? What's your course? PGR. Ano yun? Alam mo for sure, can you name some forest, type of forest?
Yes, meron po tayong tropical forest.
Wow. Tropical, pantropical. Ayun, and then we have many more. And then we have wetlands and so on. So each ecosystem provides a different set of edible flora, fauna, and fungi. So imagine, one province alone, iba ang pagkain when it's coastal, upland, lowland, ibang inland, ibang rural and urban. So unless you tried at least one province and all that different kind of ecosystem, you can have an informed opinion na. At least. Pero hindi pa yung hindi pa yun yung ticket mo to bash Filipino food. For example, in Cordillera, I'm giving you different kind of ecosystem. This is a documentation of mushrooms. In the highlands, in the pine forest, it's one of the most diverse selection of mushroom na nakita ko. For example, this one, you see, is a mushroom that is color red and spicy. Lahat yun edible, ha? At may magic ba dito? I forgot kung may magic mushroom. But all of these are edible. But this is called, mushroom in general in Kankanay is called damayan. And it's a very important part of their culture. During rainy season, they go inside the pine forest. So they look for this mushroom using a bamboo or rattan na bag. Then kukuha lang sila. So sabi nga nila it's very important to have a traditional knowledge na mapasa yung kaalaman because kung wala kang alam when looking for this mushroom, you either go sa langit, sa hospital, o good trip. Sana, well, I hope so we can, the third one, not the hospital one. Anyway, and in the rainforest of Palawan, yan yung one of the, again, for me, one of the most outstanding, again, type of ecosystem and food landscape that, especially in the southern part, Rizal, they have so many different kinds of fruits. They have red durian, called dugyan. It's not sweet, it's actually savory. They describe it as malinamnam. They cook it with coconut milk if unripe. When ripe, they preserve it in honey or they sweeten it with milk and sugar. And they have so many, even this is an Artocarpus species, this is called pupuan. And they have even different kinds of Nephilium species called Mariitum. So it's a rambutan na parang violet yung exterior niya. And the Tagbanwas, the indigenous people there, they source their income from getting these forest resources. And then let's go south. In Tawi-Tawi, the southernmost part of the archipelago. The Philippines is part of the center of marine biodiversity, part tayo ng Coral Triangle. And the Sulu Archipelago, they have different reef systems and seagrass meadows. Doon mo mapapansin na grabe na culture shock ako sa kanilang mga kinakain doon. For example, when I went to Panglima Sugala, they have this market day when there are sama, land-dwelling sama, or then also the sea-dwelling sama na mas kilala nating Badjao. Sa umaga pa lang, magdadala sila ng napakarami nilang marine resources. Minsan masabi mo, oh, pwede pa ba yung kainin? But they have excellent knowledge with marine resources. Alam nila yung edible, alam nila kung ano yung hindi. And with these sea-dwelling samas, makikipag-barter sila. Yes, barter still alive in the Philippines with the land-dwelling samas. So magpapalit sila ng, let's say, sabihin natin, magpapalit sila ng isda with sugarcane, with root crops. So magsisimula lang siya ng morning, bago magtanghali, tapos na yung market day. Kasi wala namang, kailangan nilang maaga because marami sa kanila walang refrigerator. So, and then, this food biodiversity and heritage, ano ba siya? Ano ko na lang, mabilis na lang to ha. Alam nyo na to, we have the native ones, which yung what we call yung the originals, the indigenous. So we have the tabon-tabon. So ginagamit siya for kinilaw. It is used for kinilaw. Another example of a native species na used for food is called balayba. Anyone here who is Ilocano? Any Ilocano here? Okay. Are you familiar with this vegetable? O hindi. It is called also, this is a freshwater eelgrass. So kinakain ng ibang Ilocano. And they also call it I shall return. Alam mo bakit? Because after eating it, hindi siya matutunaw. So when you go, when you eat this, there will always be undigested balayba. Totoo ba? Yes. I can confirm. And then we have a lot of native fruits called sampinit, our native raspberry. Then we have also have endemic. We have different types of endemism. Di ba? Merong mga island endemic. But for the sake of endemic are also native but limited yung distribution. We have in the Philippines the smallest commercially edible fish in the world, sinarapan. Then we have batuan, which is not endemic to Western Visayas. It's endemic from Luzon to Mindanao. I've seen this in Mindoro, here in Laguna, and in Quezon. It's called bilukaw. So, hindi siya pang Western Visayas lang. And this part of our food biodiversity, isa sila sa mga pinaka-vulnerable because limited nga lang kanilang distribution. And then we have the introduced ones. Are they Filipino food? Are they, pagmamay-ari ba natin sila? Yes, even the introduced one, as long as we adopt it, naging part na ng ating collective identity and memory, they are now, we can call Filipino food. For example, dawa is millet. A lot of islands here in the Philippines, kumakain pa ng millet. Then we have the cabeza de turco, that's a cactus. Kinakain yung flowers. Flowers are edible. And then we have Kimarabasa, also called Kamatis Tagalog, depending on the region, Kamatis Bisaya, Kamatis na baliktad. It's like a very old, an heirloom variety of a tomato. However, medyo wala na siya because it's easy to spoil, madali siyang masira. And mas talo na siya ng mga modern hybrid tomatoes. But it's very beautiful, kamatis. Kaya pala, sorry, this is a very green joke kasi yung nangamatis, siguro ganyan yung itsura. Anyway, so food goes beyond sustenance. It embodies culture, heritage, and meaning. That's the second idea that I learned during my documentation. Now, we learned that we are so rich, we are not actually a poor country. Now, I want you to learn that the food is not just food, it's our identity. It contains memory. It contains a lot of stories. Anyone who is from Batangas here? Batanggenyo? Wala. Okay, patay kayo. Anyway, sige. Ano pa ba? Ikaw, taga what province? Bicolano. Where in Bicol? Albay. So, Albay, can you name some vegetables na kinakain nyo sa Albay?
Hindi.
Ay, patay ka. Hindi ko ako kumakain ng gulay. Any gulay, sige go.
Hindi. Pag ano, laing, ano pa, sinantulan, ano pa. Ayun, sili din. Hindi ko po alam yung ano, kalamihan.
Okay. Okay na yun. And saan ka galing? Where are you from? Bulacan. Ano yung kinakain yung gulay or vegetable? What vegetable that are part of your diet? As a Bulakenyo.
Kasi common po sa amin yung chicharon. So, kapag Friday, munggo.
Also may munggo? Okay. Ikaw, sir, saan po kayo? Where are you from? Cagayan province. So, what are your food memories? Ano yung mga natatandaan yung gulay?
So, merong talbos ng kamote. Ano pa ba? Ano madami? Yung alugbati. Yes. Munggo. Alukon, yes. We call it differently sa Cagayan, libabag. Yes, yan.
So, my point is, each of you, pretty sure you have food memories. And each of you from different, galing sa iba't ibang probinsya, meron kayong kanya-kanyang kinakain. You are what you eat. And kung ano meron kayo is your identity. If you are Batanggenyo, pretty sure you're familiar with paho. If you're from Western Visayas, for example, if you're from Iloilo, you're familiar with batuan. You're familiar with ubad, with kadyos. So, food is an identity marker. It's our identity. Nakadikit na yung bituka natin sa ating pagkain. For example, sabi ko nga, when I do documentation, these are the aspects that I usually sinusulat. Na, for example, worldviews, even the beliefs, the mga kakaibang paniniwala, I always write it down. Objects, language is very important. I want to emphasize ko yung language because most of the time, a lot of writers or media practitioners, they translate these terms, these food terms into their own language, especially Tagalog or English. But I try to make an effort to write it down, to write the local terms because language carries culture. So, dapat wag sana mawala yan. And then of course, you need to know the place, the people, demographics, the gender roles, sino yung cultural bearers. There are certain industries na dominated by men. There are certain industries that are dominated by women. For example, pag sa lalaki, yung pag-akyat ng mga buko, puro lalaki yan. So, very unique if may ma-encounter akong babaeng umaakyat ng buko para magtuba, kumuha ng tuba. For gleaning naman, gleaning is getting the seashells during sa mga low tide. Marami dyan mga babae usually. Kasi most of the time, the men nagpapalaot, they go out sa dagat, tas yung mga babae na mas malapit sa mga bahay nila, sila yung nangunguha ng mga shells and other marine resources. So, yon, sinusulat yon. And then, a lot of information. I cannot discuss everything. So now, I'm just giving you at least a 10 example of now na makikita nyo na food, marami siyang kulturang nakapalibot. For example, langkawas, samputo, don't worry. Actually, this is hundreds already, but nahirapan akong magpili, but number 1, top 1, langkawas. Are you familiar with this rhizome? Anyone who's familiar with this? Konti lang. Saan ka po galing? Anong province niyo? O Bulacan. Why are you familiar with langkawas? Nababasa na. Okay, baka nabasa mo na sa Localpedia. Langkawas, if you're familiar with tom yum, is actually, this is the rhizome. So yung galanggal, ay tama ba yung pronunciation ko? Galanggal. So it's actually native to the Philippines. We're actually very Southeast Asian. We have actually a lot of herbs and spices. Sabi nila, we have so many limited selection of herbs and spices, but we have so many. This is one. For example, when you go to Negros Occidental in Western Visayas, they add it to their vinegar. When you go to Bicol, to Albay, they add, alam mo to? Hindi. Tanong mo yung, alam mo to? Are you familiar? And they add this to fermented fish sauce called kuyog. And then, when you go to Palawan, they also utilize the rhizome, but they eat the ubod, the center of the langkawas. And ginugulay ito, they usually cook it with coconut milk. But hindi pa to tapos. For example, when you go again in Bicol region, for example, in Baao, Camarines Sur, when I'm doing documentation, their pansiterias, they're serving pansit bato, meron silang condiments, and one of the condiments is langkawas, grounded langkawas. So amazing, hindi lang chili, not just soy sauce, but they're putting langkawas to their pansit. But dito ko lang sa town to na-observe. I don't know if other towns. In Maguindanao and surrounding provinces, it is called tikwas. And it is added to, ang haba ng proseso na to. Anyway, they have this fermented dish called tapay. Fermented rice yon. So if you're familiar with tinapay, dyan yung root word na yung tapay. Di ba tapayan? So, kung saan nagpo-ferment, yes, yan yung root word na yung tapay. It's an Austronesian term. So this fermented rice is already edible. It can be eaten as is. Then they can utilize it. Ang gagawin nila, pwede, pag medyo na-ferment pa, kunwari di na nila nakain, they add it to a dalag. Ayan na yun, nakikita nyo sa screen. So, yung dalag nito, ilalagay nila yung fermented rice, parang buro, no? Fermented. And they add tikwas, then they add lemongrass and other spices, and they will fry it to make tinapayan. And very delicious, very umami-rich and rich in fermented flavor. Imagine haba ng proseso. And then, for example, pako. You're very familiar with this vegetable. It can be found from Luzon to Mindanao and even Southeast Asian countries. But for example, there's a very unique preparation na na-encounter ko in Leyte, in Eastern Visayas. It's called kinarabong pako, where they grated coconut meat, they will make balls, coconut balls, and bibilugin nila to, and they will tatalian nila to with a thread. And then once na compact na siya, they will grill it, and then they will mix it with pako to make a traditional salad called kinarabong pako. Unique, di ba? So very smoky. So imagine, even the preparation unique. If you think that the plant is not unique, maybe the preparation, di ba? You can have 100 reasons to appreciate food. Hindi lang yung flavor niya, hindi lang siya, but maybe, how about the culture na nakapalibot dito? Number 3, meron pa tayong, 7. Pasotes. This is a Mexican tea, or epazote. It's actually introduced herb from Central America, obviously from Mexico. It was introduced during galleon trade. Lagi kong sinasabi na hindi lang yung mga native and endemic, but also the introduced flora are also part of our culture, and this is one. They added in vegan, they have a congee called pipian, made with toasted ground rice with kamyas, with chicken, and with pasotes. Pasotes it has a unique petroleum-ish notes, flavor. Very unique. Try nyo. They describe it, medyo may pagkagulong. But for me, merong mint. It has a slight mint taste, herby taste. And for example, I just went to Quezon. In Sampaloc, Quezon, is the only longganisa that na gumagamit ng ganitong herb. So hindi lang lukban longganisa ang meron sa Quezon, ha. They also have Sampaloc longganisa, and they call the herb pasutis. At nilalagay ito si Nanay Flor or Ate Fo, ang kaisa-isahan na lang natitirang gumagamit ng pasutis in Sampaloc, Quezon. So pawala na siya doon sa at least. Pero sana maipasa niya pa. So dinadry niya ito. Meron siyang tanim sa kanyang front yard sa sari-sari store. And yung kanilang longganisa, very unique because tad-tad pa din, hindi siya ground meat. And then aside from pasutis, di ba? Kanina pasotes, ngayon pasutis. Kasi ganun dapat. You use the language kung saan mo siya na-document. Now, meron din siyang oregano na kasama. Marami pang kultura sa akin, hindi ko ma-explain lahat. I can discuss one ingredient in 10 minutes. In Cebu, it is called pasiotes. If you're any Cebuanos here, so they add it to karkar lechon. Karkar is popular with lechon, and ito yung isang sa secret ingredient nila. However, a lot of lechoneros already abandoned using pasiotes. Hindi na lahat gumagamit. So actually, hindi lang pasiotes, hindi lang, a lot of local ingredients, natural ingredients are getting out of fashion. A lot of, may makikita nyo yung mga reasons. Nipa. You're very familiar with this. Kung coconut palm is the tree of life, I can say na is also a tree of life. Tree, palm kasi siya. Anyway, ginagamit natin for nipa hot. The sap can be utilized for vinegar, for sugar, for pwedeng gawing alak. Yung ubod pwedeng kainin. It has edible endosperm sa loob na parang kaong. But in Capiz, they have a unique version of puso na hindi katulad ng mga Bisaya na, or sa Cebu or sa Mindanao or other southern Leyte. Their version of puso is not just a regular rice but a sweet snack because of nipa. Yun yung pinangtamis. Ayan. When I post it online, a lot of Cebuanos nagalit sa akin. Oh, that's a fake puso. That's not the real puso. It's lesser version. But I just want to emphasize that our culture, marami siyang nuances. Baka kung ano yung iba sa inyo, iba rin talaga sa amin, hindi pareho. Canela is a species of cinnamon. We have around 20 species of cinnamon here in the Philippines. This is an evidence that we use cinnamon. When Antonio Pigafetta arrived in the Philippines, they encountered utilization among locals. It's called kawi mana or sweet wood. So cinnamon is not a new spice. The Dumagats use this, the Maranaos use this cinnamon. Actually, lahat ng island groups, nakita ko may cinnamon na ginagamit. So yung mga nagkumakain ng cinnamon, sasabihin nyo na, oh, it's a very imported. No, cinnamon is native to the Philippines. And when you go to, for example, in Negros Oriental, for example, you go to Dumaguete Public Market, they have this laurel, but actually leaves of cinnamon. Very interesting. You just need to be observant, you need to look closer because the beauty of our food, minsan nasa tabi-tabi lang. So, it's actually cinnamon. Hina-harvest siya sa southern Cebu, hina-harvest siya sa mga rural areas ng Negros Oriental. Number 6, 4 na lang, don't worry, konti na lang, Sakurab of the Maranaos. Nag-pick na lang ako. Then for Maranao, sabi nila, mawala na lang lahat, wag lang yung sili at yung sakurab na ginagawa nilang palapa. So it's a type of allium cultivated in Lanao provinces. So ayan siya, ginagamit siya for their fish nuggets and therefore chicken dish. At a lot of their traditional dishes merong sakurab. Lemoncito. It is utilized in Bicol. It is utilized in Samar. So lemoncito is a lime berry. For example, in Bicol region, it is added to sweetened winter melon. Are you familiar? Have you tried this? Naku, paluto ka sa mama mo, sa mga kamag-anak. So imagine, this is a very unique ingredient in Samar. However, napansin ko sa Bicol is more popular, but in Catbalogan, Samar, and other towns, mas hindi nila kilala. Mas the knowledge of utilization of this ingredient, mostly mga mayayaman, yung marunong mag-bake, nilalagay nila. And this is one of the example, Delicious de Pili from Catbalogan, nilalagay nila sa gitna ng pastry. Lahat yan, anyway, all of these may pili na palaman. So pili is the endemic nut na meron sa Bicol, Samar, etc. Number 8, patapos na. We have tinigib, an heirloom variety of corn, white corn. Paborito to ng mga Bisaya. Not everyone sa Pilipinas are rice eaters. There are groups, communities who loves corn. There are communities who love root crops. And this one is an old variety eaten as a I don't want to call it rice alternative because this is a staple.
And one of the example of interesting aspect of this, aside from being an old variety, I met a farmer na nagtatanim ng heirloom corns, hindi lang tinigi but also kabuyag. Ang ginagawa niya, pag pumunta ka sa farm niya, meron siyang farm, then yung kabuyag, tinatanim niya in the outskirts ng kanyang, sa gitna yung tinigib. Tinigib is a prize variety. Then yung kabuyag, pag naging mas tumanda pa, yung kulay pula yan, is a red corn. Sabi ko, bakit? Kasi sabi niya, yung mga monkeys, kapag pumunta sa farm niya, kaya sa pag binuksan yung for some reason, actually, kahit even sabihin natin parang okay, pero may science sila, they have their own science. Pag pumunta sila sa farm and then the monkeys open the corn, oh, it's color red. Umaalis daw. So hindi na nila kakainin yung tinigib sa gitna. They're their own local, traditional farming techniques. So it's a companion crop. So meron siyang kasama. Number 9, deremen. Ito, one ingredient lang to, is a young glutinous rice. Depende sa'yo kung anong gamit na variety. Some uses heirloom variety. This is from Pangasinan, but also Ilocanos, they also produce this. There's a town, Aguilar, Pangasinan, na nakilala sa paggawa ng deremen. So it's a glutinous rice na ni-roast, pinawd, parang pinipig, but kulay itim because of the process. So malalaman mo daw pag panahon ng deremen, is ongoing right now until November, pista ng patay. Malalaman mo na kapag naririnig mo na yung nagpapound ng deremen. And when this is from Alaminos, Pangasinan, nagbebenta sila ng deremen, kalot. Kalot is intoxicating yum. May lason po ito in raw form. It undergoes a long traditional process. And then it has yabyaban, yung flour. Pag niluto mo siya, para siyang pudding. And then they mix it to make a ginataan, a deremen. So napakasarap, very delicious, but people don't know this dish. Aside from it, they make a rice cake na kulay itim. And during pista ng patay, may specific term sila dito, hindi Tagalog na lang ginagamit ko, sorry. Makikita mo na ginagamit siyang offering for the dead. But also other rice cakes also. But because sumasabay yung season niya, makikita mo to sa sementeryo. Imagine, that's just one ingredient but a very elaborate culture. And the last one, nag-enjoy ako, is pangunguha ng abal-abal. Abal-abal is a edible beetle na lumalabas around, I think, May, first rain of May, tapos nag-e-extend siya until June. I documented this in Abra, but it can be found in Cagayan, in Ilocos region. Tama po ba yung pronunciation ko, abal-abal? Sorry, I'm bad with words. And then, I went to a river, tapos pumunta kami doon, tapos sabi ko, nasasad ako kasi wala pa yung mga beetles. Wala na ba kaming naabutan? Di kami lang. And then habang tumatagal, habang nagiging madilim na, dumadating yung mga maraming tao. Tapos biglang may sumulpot ng isang beetle. 1, 2, and the next thing I know, nagliliparan na silang lahat. Tapos lahat ng tao kuha ng kuha. Yung kuha. Tapos ang saya is a community affair. Is a people use it as a bonding, as a form of social activity. May magjowa, may magbabarkada. Have you tried this, sir, getting nako, sa Cagayan? Anyway, it's very, ang saya because it shows the connection of people with nature. So, ngayon, nang ginagawa? Clash of Titans ba yun? Pero at least yung mga ganitong activities sana ma-retain. Anyway, that's just 10 out of hundreds of ingredients. Each flora, fauna, and funga has its own story. Lagi kong naririnig, ang pagkaing walang kwento, walang kwenta. Lagi ko naririnig yun. Pero I beg to disagree. Even the pinaka-unhealthiest food may story and you need to look for that story. Walang pagkain, walang kwenta. Kaya sabihin natin sardinas, ultra-processed, may story pa din yan. Bakit naging ganyan yan? Bakit yun yung kinakain ng isang community? And now, we are so rich. We are so rich with our natural resources, with our culture, but our food biodiversity and heritage is threatened. Maraming examples, pero ilan lang ito. Climate change, monocropping, logging, globalization, and homogenization of the... Naka-live tayo na we're live. McDonald's, please don't sue me. I use your logo. But fast food and its analogs, ultra-processed food, mayroon siyang grave effect sa ating food biodiversity because it homogenize our diet. Convenient. You can order in your phone. So, kalaban siya ng ating traditional food. Demographic challenges, ayaw na magsaka. Tumatanda na yung mga food artisans. Monocropping. I attended a lot of, pretty sure you're aware of this, sir, na monocropping is one of the biggest drivers of biodiversity loss. Pag nagkaroon naman ng biodiversity loss, food biodiversity loss na din yun eh. Imagine, sabi nga nila, at least in illegal logging, you know, is illegal. But monocropping is actually technically illegal. So when a farmer decide to plant one plant, for example, golden corn, because of profit, because there's a big demand for golden corn because you eat a lot of chicken. Kasi yung chicken, the golden corn is the feed for chicken. So if you eat a lot of fried chickens, tumataas ang demand for golden corn. And that farmer will now decide na magtatanim na lang siya na to kasi mataas ang profit. That's why eating is political, food is political. So you need to be mindful consumer. So what you eat also dictates kung anong mangyayari, kung anong gagawin ng ating food producers. But that's a very simplified explanation. So one example of there's so many endangered food. Number one of the example is tawilis, the only freshwater sardine in the world that can be found in Taal Lake, is now endangered because of introduction of invasive species. Lahat ng dumi inalalagay sa Taal. Nakakain na ba kayo ng tawilis? Diba? Minsan, sometimes when you go to Metro Manila, they sell tawilis, but actually it's not tawilis anymore. When I went there, konti na lang talaga yung tawilis, ang daming invasive species. May goldfish pa nga tawag nila goldfish. May tilapia, etc. Competition yon. Or for example, anyone here from Laguna to, Los Baños, anyone here from Pakil, Laguna? Are you familiar with this fruit, sir? Nakikita nyo na po ba siya ngayon? First time lang. Nakakain ka pa naman. Pero unlike before, mas marami daw before yeah. It's getting rarer na in Pakil, Laguna, in Paete. This is a native fruit with edible nut that tastes like chestnut, di ba, lasang kastanyas. And pag panahon ng Turumba, Our Lady of Sorrows, kasabay na niya ito ng panahon ng Ibuli. Pero ngayon, unti-unti nang nawawala, tapos meron pang ongoing dam project in Pakil. So endangered na nga, baka ma-extinct na. Pero meron pa ito sa Cordillera, etc. But pag nawala na ang Ibuli na to sa Pakil, tapos na ang kanyang history sa town na yon. So that's the reality of many heritage food. Last one, budbod, artisanal salt that can be found in Antique and Iloilo. Hirap na silang gumawa ng salt because of climate change. Salt farmers have salt calendar, but because of extreme weather events, biglang uulan, hirap na hirap sila. And another one is I'm pretty sure narinig nyo na ito, the Asin law that prohibits the salt without iodine. So, mahirap sila magbenta, pero inaayos ito sa Kongreso. So, dito ko narinig, one salt farmer said na I don't want to pass this to my kids anymore because they don't earn from this kind of craft. And not just budbod asin, but a lot of traditional ingredients malapit nang mawala because wala silang kinikita. Walang suporta from the government, and then dagdag mo pang climate change, competition to mass-produce items. So diyan, climate change, tumaas po yung dagat. Doon po sila kasi gumagawa sa dalampasigan. So nakain na yung kanilang workspace. So the last point that I want to explain to you guys that preservation is not fossilization. No? Hindi ko mapabigkas. Hindi siya fossil. Ang pagkain natin is one of the easy na mabago. I cannot dictate na, we need to preserve this ingredient. I cannot force you, but I can empower you, I can inform you, or we can empower each other. We collectively decide what we going to accept, ano yung i-reject natin, ano yung tatanggapin, di ba? Our culture is like a palayok, an earthenware jar, according to Doreen Gamboa Fernandez. It breathes, it's porous, it absorbs. Pag nagluto ka sa palayok, tapos na, maamoy mo may natirang amoy, pero mawawala din siya. Ina-absorb niya lahat ng nilalagay. Parang tayo lang yan. Diba? We accept, we reject. So, now, I want you to inform yourself. Yun lang ang pwede natin gawin for us to help our food biodiversity and food heritage. So, yun lang. Maraming salamat sa inyo. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Sherwin, for your very wonderful presentation. So you brought us to your food archiving journey, and I myself, I'm honest, parang most of the fruits and ingredients that you've shared, I am not familiar. Kayo ba? Same. Okay.
That's just few. Hundreds na po yan. So imagine how we're so unaware with our culture, with our food biodiversity and heritage. Di ba?
That's right. So just a recap on what he said, the 4 points. Nag-notes ba kayo? Philippine food is extremely diverse. Food goes beyond sustenance. It embodies cultural heritage and meaning. Food biodiversity and heritage is threatened, and preservation is not fossilization. And another one, ang pagkaing walang kwento, walang kwenta. Very good, children. Okay, so we're now open for some questions for our resource speaker. We actually have a lot of questions from our online attendees, but maybe somebody from the room can shoot the first question. We have microphones. Please, lapit lang po kayo, raise your hand and introduce yourself for any question. And anyone who would ask a question will receive a special merchandise from Circa. May jacket ba dyan? A notebook lang pala. Notebook, pens, and something else. Okay, anyone who would like to ask a question for Sir Sherwin? Yes, sir. Din likod yung mic. Okay. Okay, we have... Sige, siya po muna.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Jess Vincent Benavides po. I'm an MS Wildlife student here. And I'm just curious, since sa second point na ako nakaabot kanina, what are the challenges in documenting our food na nag-utilize ng mga wildlife for sustenance? I'm just curious about that.
Okay. Actually, yan yung one of the moral dilemmas of documentation. I encountered a lot of, for an outsider like me, it's a culture shock, to be honest. People eat turtle eggs. I encountered communities that eat monkeys, monitor lizard. And we need to, I'm actually very sensitive topic. I'm pretty sure I'm still learning about this, but I believe that they're just getting their sustenance from their environment. There's a saying na the native food feeds more people, and the native food are these, the wildlife. When Antonio Pigafetta went here in the Philippines, ang dami niyang nilistang mga wildlife na kinakain ng locals. And until now, we still consume this wildlife. I know a lot are endangered, but I think the biggest drivers of the extinction of many species are the large scale, the mining. I mean, before we go to kung mga pumunta agad sa kanila, ayusin muna natin yung sistema, yung bigger problems, the bigger issues. I'm not saying na isang tabi natin ito, but most of the time, the consumption is more on yung local lang yung effect niya eh. Diba? And a lot, for example, forest dwellers, you cannot say na wag natin kainin itong mga diba? And I really don't like the term, we need to educate them, we need to learn with them, we need to work with them. Bakit ba nila to kinakain? So even me, I still don't have the final answer to that, but I just want to share na we need to be more understanding, and that yung realities kasi ng Pilipino, ng archipelago na iba-iba, diba? Ibang reality ko, iba reality nila. Yung mga badya, kumakain sila ng mga taklobo, mga giant clams. But they are one of the marginalized indigenous peoples in the Philippines. Pag tinigil mo ang pagkain nila, ano na lang kakainin nila, diba? So we need to be more critical how people source their food. Hindi yung parang i-vilify na agad natin. Yun lang naman. More on ano lang, suggestion lang. Yun. Any question?
Thank you. So, sir, please go ahead.
Hello. Medyo marami akong points dito ha. But yeah, yun nga sa pinakita mo presentation. I'm Linden nga pala. I'm Linden. You have highlighted how there can be varying names of the same species in different localities. Sometimes to further complicate things, even a particular name can be used to refer to two different things in two different areas. Yung, I remember yung isang example, baho, di ba? Yung isa sa Visayas, iba ang...
Mangifera indica.
Yeah, di ba? So, but conversely, have you found instances where you found that local knowledge or local naming conventions makes a distinction between something that is classified in the scientific literature as the same species? In other words, yung local language is nagre-recognize siya ng variety, pero in the scientific literature parang
May separate.
No. Meron siyang distinction or sa identification ng my goodness me. Overwhelmed
It's okay.
ako. Yung local naming conventions, they make a distinction. Pero sa scientific literature, parang hindi na-recognize yung specificity ng...
Okay.
Oo.
Okay, nagigess ko
It's
na.
like
Don't
parang
worry.
yung pinggan, marang...
Oh. For example, there are actually instances that's for one example, pero ako di ko rin alam kung titingnan ko pa. For example muna sa Borneo, alam nyo ba there's a case there, Artocarpus species na for the longest time the science do not recognize their distinction. They have separate two local names for two species. However, the science sabi nila isa lang. Eventually, nagkaroon ng studies, search niya meron yan, dalawa talaga, it's actually true. It's actually separate species, two different plants, but magkamukha. Marami na akong na-encounter, for example, in Oriental Mindoro, but I'm still finding answers. Pero they have marang and they have oloy. Pero pag nakita mo, halos pareho lang sila. But mapapaisip ko, why they have separate naming, they have classifications. Sabi nila, yung marang mas malaki, tapos yung oloy, mas maliit naman. Talagang fist size talaga. Pang fisting. Anyway, joke lang. So, that's one example.
Yes. I'm just asking, kung meron ka nakita ng mga ganyong examples dito sa Pilipinas.
Ayun. That's one, the Artocarpus. Hopefully, I can send some samples kung sino man gusto dito para malaman natin yung katotohanan. But imagine, I just want to add more. But ito, alam kong, for example, in Palawan naman, they have called manti and usaw. They are rambutan species. Alam nyo, in surface level, mukha silang parehong-pareho. Pero pag tiningnan mo talaga, as in zoom na zoom, iba yung pattern ng kanyang balat. Ang galing nila, parang na-distinct nila yon na, I'm pretty sure that's two separate species. I'm pretty sure. I'm 100%. So, yun. Pero yun lang.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for your question, sir. I'd like to read one question from our online attendee. For those interested in exploring the rich Filipino food biodiversity, what advice or tips would you give? For example, for travelers, how can they maximize their travels in terms of immersing into the food biodiversity of the places they go to?
I mean, number one is kumain sila kung saan kumakain locals. Two, have a conversations with locals. I mean, ako kasi sabi niya, paano mo nahanap itong mga ingredients na to? Simple lang, nakikipag-usap ako. You start a conversation with people, hindi yung parang, dito lang ako magse-selfie lang or etc. So you need to be curious with your own culture. And not just a traveler, but also, for example, in your hometown, talk to your grandparents, to your neighbors. Sabi mo, ano yung mga natatandaan yung pagkain before na kinakain nyo? baka yun ang pwedeng conversation starter. So that's one of the pwede kong suggest. Third, go to public markets. I think pinaka-accessible na place for a traveler to know a province culture is going to public markets. Go to Tabuan, to Talipapa, look at kung ano yung binibenta, kahit yung mga language, maririnig mo kung paano yung ginagamit nila. However, I just want to insert this issue, marami nang pinaprivatize na public markets, di ba? Hindi lang unti-unti na lang gawing mall. I think I want to say this statement na sabi nga nila, supermarkets, hindi ka masusurprise, pero public markets, doon ka masusurprise. Kasi, for example, supermarkets or groceries, same lang yan. You go to different grocery, pareho lang makikita mo. The food are organized, the produce pare-pareho, but sa mga traditional public markets, next week, ibang-iba na yan. Iba na naman, seasonal na yan. That's why I want to ipaalala sa inyo is to be more political. Kapag may mga ganong mga issues, privatization, land grabbing, kung saan lagi nila sinasabi, nasaan na yung mga native food natin? Nasaan na yung mga traditional food? Kaya nga nawawala kasi apektado na kung saan yung nanggagaling sila, kung saan sila binibenta. So yun lang.
Okay, so that's a good insight for aspiring food vloggers. Meron ba dito aspiring food vloggers?
Isa lang.
Okay, so one more question with regards to like archiving. What are the important considerations when going to local communities when you are about to conduct an interview? I guess this is about ethical considerations when doing archival work.
Number one is documenting is negotiating. So kailangan mo ibigay yung pagpapasya sa mga komunidad. Not everything you can document. There are instances I wasn't able to document this part of the process. And you need to honor that. For example, the Asintibuok, there's a part there sa simula na I cannot attend because bawal daw, bawal po. Or there are process na very sagrado sa kanila because pag pumunta ka, masisira yung process, parang ang outcome, mababa yung quality. So you need to ask and ask permission, di ba? So that's one of the kailangan matutunan pag nagdo-document ka. So palaging pagpapasya sila sa kanila dapat, hindi yung ikaw yung hala. And then third one, bibigyan lang ako ng another instance, for example, na hindi yung sulat ka lang ng sulat, not everything. For example, there's a community of salt farmers. There in one province, their salt farm is located in a private land. The landowner gets a big chunk of the earnings from their salt. Very tricky yung instance, yung pangyayari kasi hindi ko pwedeng pangunahan sila. Kasi pag pinangunahan ko sila, kaya pwede ko naman sabi, anin natin yung landowner na yan, blah, 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 blah. Pabagsakin natin. Sila ang unang maapektuhan. Diba? So you need to honor their voice kung kailan sila magsasalita. Kailangan mo lang sila makipag-usap ka sa nila, explain na, mag-conversation until sila mismo yung magsasalita for them. Diba? Hindi yung mangunguna ka. Kasi pag sila naman na sila unang mapeperwisyo. Yun lang naman. I think it's not just food documentation but also in journalism as a general. Research. Diba? Hanggang ngayon, tricky pa din. Ang hirap talagang gumalaw in food documentation. Very political.
Okay, thank you. We have room for more questions on site. The girl in green, please.
So, hello. Good afternoon po. Sa number 3 kanina regarding the threats naman po in terms of food biodiversity, especially documenting it. I'd like to ask, since wala rin po siya doon sa 5, is what are the threats or maybe implications naman po of technology, particularly artificial intelligence, and like maybe documenting food diversity in the Philippines and archiving it po. Thank you.
Wow! Actually, lahat tayo dito, we're still navigating with AI. Bago sa atin lahat yan. But I think one of the dilemmas, one of the issues there, at least may konting knowledge ako, is when you yung mga data storage na yan, nakalagay yan sa China, sa mga US. So, when you put, for example, a camera in their locality, saan napupunta yung information? Doon sa labas. I think yan yung mga isa sa issue ng AI na pag naglalagay ka ng mga sensitive information sa AI, i-absorb nila yan at eventually baka balang araw magamit. So we need to be maging careful tayo kung anong ilalagay natin. Kasi, for example, baka next time alam na ng China ang ating hindi naman, I mean, alam na ng isang bansa kung ano yung ating biocultural Diba? They can make it's a conspiracy, to be honest. I still don't know what will going to happen. But it's always dapat maging mindful tayo kung ano yung information na nilalabas natin. For example, we set this cam in their forest, diba? Then nakuha na nila yung bio information ng isang lugar. Then they can make a warfare. Pero sorry, baka mukha na conspiracy theories. Pero actually, that's happening. For example, I heard na, merong mga nagpapatent na rin ng DNA. Alam nyo ba yon? May ganun ng mga issues. So, imagine mo, naglalagay tayo ng mga information, tapos nakukuha na pala. Yun lang.
Alright. So, sige, si ma'am na naka-pink muna daw.
Good afternoon po. Dating estudyante dito, ngayon retired. Ngayon nagpo-farm na. So, halos advocate ako ng lahat ng natural. So, organic farming, natural farming. So, ngayon part ako ng isang grupo na magsasaka, Sipag Pagsanghan Farmers Group. Tapos ang problema, nagpa-seminar ng DA. So ito, yung sinasabi mong threat sa biodiversity, monoculture. I'm part of a 34 group of farmers, pero halos dalawa lang kaming nag-organic o may alam sa biodiversity. So pinapansin ko, hindi pala lahat ng agriculture na estudyante may ecology subjects. Meron ba kayo? Ecology subjects, principles of ecology, crop protection, 1A, 1B. Kasi sa DA, probinsya ng Laguna. So farmer ako, pinadala ako sa Tagaytay para mag-seminar leadership, pero ang tinuturo pa rin talaga ng mga taga-DA ay monocrop. Halos monoculture. Anong ilalagay na pesticide? Anong ilalagay na... So, sabi ko, huwag naman natin isipin yung profit. Isipin natin yung kalikasan at health ng kapwa natin. Kasi talagang chat group namin, bawal ako magsalita. So yun yung sinasabi ko na, paano natin itatama yung monoculture? Kasi nga, ang demand ng customer natin tapos ang tinuturo pa ng DA monoculture.
Yes. Thank you po for pagbabahagi, ma'am. That's actually the sad state kasi yung preference natin monocropping kasi nga we profit and then we're so focused sa pagpakain ng pero again, we still food insecure, di ba? Makikita mo may mga nagpapakamatay na farmers because they have surplus. So may mali sa ating way kung paano mag-produce ng food. I think the action should come from, of course, the government but also sa atin din. Imagine nyo, ang food landscape natin, wala pang naitatanim ang isang farmer. Wala pang naitatanim na binhi, may problema na agad. Baka nga wala pa siyang binhi na itatanim, kaya limited lang yung So alam nyo, masalimuot ng ating usaping pagkain. So yun. Yun lang naman share ko.
So you said food is political.
Yeah, food is political.
Speaking of, I don't know if you want to answer this question. Kasi there was this one government agency that you called out.
DTI. Okay, sure. DTI, go.
Wait lang. Kasi there's a question. Is there an intentional government initiative or program to document or preserve the culinary tradition of the Philippines? If there is, which government agency is it? So,
actually, the documentation ongoing na even before Localpedia, there are cultural mapping, diba? From LGU level, national level. And recently, the DTI published a book about regional cuisines. I don't want to call it cuisine. Regional cuisines kasi marami. And then a lot of errors, sobrang daming mali. I think baka nga AI pa nga gamit eh. So imagine, there are a lot of efforts, to be honest, but ilan lang ba yung effort talaga na grounded sa community? Na hindi lang siya yung for compliance, but actually genuine desire to actually document our food culture. Actually, one of the problem with our, hindi naman problem, but challenge na lang, is because we are more oral culture tayo. Mostly saling dila, sorry. And then before, sinusulat lang natin sa mga organic materials. Kaya most of our early written documents, mga Spanish yung nakasulat. Ngayon, is a high time na tayo naman magsulat, di ba? I think, wag na natin hintayin yung government, isulat nyo na yung sarili nyong culture, write it down sa notes sa iPhone nyo, sa phone nyo, and then maging ambassador kayo ng sarili nyong kultura. Diba?
Okay. So, one question from the lady in black. Kanina, go. Please.
Hello pala.
Hello.
Given the emerging issues such as the hard to reverse climate change or such as dun sa yung sa salt farming, di ba? It's pretty difficult on them. Do you think there's a certain way to preserve certain procedures, or would any possible modifications or alternatives somehow result to a loss in heritage or culture?
Ang question mo is, meron ba mga, because of merong climate change, for example,
Yeah.
and they need to adjust, then nagkaroon ng bagong process, may nawala ng...
Yeah, would that result to a loss in heritage or culture, or is there a way to like preserve the process? Kasi sinabi niyo po, di ba, na parang it's more than just food. Kung yun ding uniqueness ng procedure, nagko-contribute din siya dun sa uniqueness ng culture.
Alam mo, ang hirap naman magsabi na dahil binago nila na wala na yung kultura. Because outsider lang din. For example, sila yung nag-adjust. For example, in salt farming, there's one, for example, yung budbud asin, they have this very manual process na ididiligan nila yung dalampasigan with a very big bamboo pole. Tapos they will, the brine, ididilig nila. But nawala yun because of a lot of issues. Climate change, mabigat yung trabaho. Pinalitan nila with machinery. Para mabilis yung pag-sprinkle ng salt water. Kasi mamaya biglang umulan. And then mas mabilis. Maraming gayang nangyayari na nawala yung ganong mga aspeto ng production na artisanal, very traditional. But can we blame them? Because they're just keeping this culture alive by adjusting with this mahirap na makontrol na external factors. So, ang hirap magsalita, to be honest. I mean, yes, may nawala. That's true. Pero, nag-adjust lang din sila. Yun lang yung masasagot ko. Ang hirap sagutin ng tanong mo.
Okay, thank you for that. By the way, I just received a word that your friend Celine Morillo is watching.
Oh, hello, Celine.
So, hi, Celine.
Ayan, idol ko yan. I mean, ano ko na, isisingit ko na, for example, marami ng content creators ngayon, but ilan lang yung very political, and silin lang yung ilan sa konting-konting nagsasalita sa mga issues sa kalikasan. Sana supportahan natin yung mga content creators tulad si Lynn or ako, supportahan niyo ako kasi konti na lang ano ba yan? Nababash pa kami. Pag nagsalita, NPA ka, di ba? Yun lang.
Okay, I think one final question in general, since most of the attendees we are part of the Gen Z generation. So how can we get Gen Z to choose and enjoy local produce when social media trends and fast food options are just a click away? Relevant question. How can we encourage the younger generation to appreciate, promote, and preserve Philippine food biodiversity? Will Localpedia serve as a platform for engaging citizen reporting?
Ba naman ang question. Tapos, kay ano po yung isang question, yung pagsabay ko na. What's your question po? Salamat po sa pagpunta. Salamat po.
Una sa lahat, magandang araw sa ating lahat.
Yes, magandang araw.
Napaka-werte, maybe this is providential. And I thank you for this forum. Ang tanong ko lang, sa Pilipino now, I thought there are foreign... I'll speak in Tagalog. Ang pinakaunang punto ko rito, bakit tayo napakayaman sa human and natural resources? We are rich, we are not poor.
That's true.
Amen?
Amen.
We are the salt and light of earth.
Yes.
There is a destiny for Filipinos. And you can see it. After more than 300 years of Spanish rule, we are not Spanish speaking. We speak the lingua franca of the world. We are number one in BPOs. My question is this. Has anybody come up with the idea, as they say, iba yung oral tradition, iba yung written. What is written, kahit pasabihin mo, nandito, you still need technology to run this. But the book, the written word, I'm sure Sharka will have the resources to fund the publication even of a regional of this series, which is very informative and very, very inspiring. For me, who is almost 80, maybe I'm the oldest here, that's just my point. I hope you will indulge me. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Sobrang may panawagan si Nanay. Sana yung mga ganitong, tawag dito, mga ganitong initiative, tulungan ng mga, not just government, NGOs. O yan, circa, i-fund yun daw ako. Hindi, joke lang. Anyway, going back to the last question, how can the Gen Z participate? Nasagot ko naman, but the number one is, get in touch. And for them to appreciate our food is, again, going back to second point or third point, na food is not just food. Food is our culture and identity. And if you learn that our food is part of us, na pag nawala ito, part of ng ating pagkatain mawawala, di ba? Mas magiging mindful ka and critical ka. So yun lang naman. That's the last.
Okay, thank you very much. Palakpakan natin, Mr. John Sherwin Felix. So we've learned a lot of insights from his presentation. And later on, feel free to reach out to him through email, or maybe you can talk to him later after the seminar as well. So now we'd like to hear also from our participants. Please share with us your feedback or insights from this seminar. Kindly scan the QR code. So may pa-quiz tayo. Share with us your insights, learnings from the seminar, and also your recommendations. And while you're doing that, we would like to invite CIRCA's Deputy Director for Administration, Associate Professor Joselito G. Florendo, to give the token and certificate of appreciation for our resource speaker. This certificate of appreciation is given to Mr. John Sherwin Felix for sharing his expertise as a speaker during the CIRCA ADSS titled From Roots to Recipes, Archiving the Food Biodiversity of the Philippines, held on 16 October 2025 at CIRCA Los Baños, Laguna, Philippines. Of course, we have the buko pie. Something from LB. Okay, so we're gonna have a group photo, so we request everyone to please rise and compress sa center for a group photo with our resource speaker. Thank you as well to our online attendees. I think we have almost 100 as well joining us online via Facebook and Zoom. So compress lang po tayo sa pinakagitna. Baba po yung iba dito sa may unahan para mas makita kayo. Okay. Compress po. Ayan. Okay, look at the camera. Ito yung lalabas sa Localpedia, so smile. Thank you very much, everyone. Refreshments will be served outside, so maraming salamat for coming. Join us again next month for another ADSS. And also, we'd like to thank our online attendees for joining us. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Come, let's build the center that we'd like to be. A place where you and me can work in harmony. Where everyone is proud to serve with dignity. Come, let's make this dream a reality. Fill our hearts and minds with a vision. Let our words below our mission. Leave our values on excellence in work, commitment and unity. Come share this dream for the senior region, extend it to the world throughout generation. Fill our hearts and minds with a vision. Side by side we stand for our mission. Leave our values on excellence in work, commitment and unity. Let's show the world we can. With God close at hand, we will grow together for the better.